Hi, these next videos are going to take us through invoicing.
Use the invoice screen and site link. The invoice screen, along with other functions in the program, are based off of the reminder screen. So I can either double click here where it says I have 17 invoices to print, or I can click on the invoice screen. By double clicking on this reminders button, it will take me to this invoice screen. Here is everyone that is set to be invoiced today. I can select all and print the invoice, or I can select all and email the invoices if they have an email address. Also, in the payment screen under ledger settings, you can choose an invoice delivery type. Everyone in this particular case is set up to be printed, but you may want the person with an email address to be set up to be emailed. You want to base what you want to do in terms of printing or emailing off this list. Just because someone has an email address doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be emailed an invoice. So be diligent about choosing the correct delivery type for each invoice. Once I have them chosen, I click my particular item, print in this case, and click process, and we'll print off all the invoices. Once they're printed, they will then show in the unpaid invoices screen, which simply means that an invoice was printed for this person and they have not paid it yet. Once they pay out their invoice, they come off of this screen. So if someone calls you and says they did not receive their invoice, you can go to the unpaid invoices section to see when an invoice was printed, and you can print it again.
Please remember our default method of communication should always be email, and we do not charge for an email invoice. If the customer does want an invoice that's printed through snail mail, we do charge a $1 invoicing fee, and this should be set up at move-in and explained to the customer.
How you manually create an invoice. I click on the invoice screen, choose the option to manually create an invoice, choose the particular tenant. This tenant has already been charged these particular items. I choose which charges are going to go on this invoice. In this case, I choose this bottom charge. Maybe I want to have all the charges. Whichever items I want, I place them on the invoice. If there are charges that are not on the account, I can click on Adjust Charges, create those charges. Now they will be on this list to add to the invoice. Once I have the charges on this list that I want in the invoice, I can certainly preview it, and it will show me prior to printing what's going to go on the invoice. Once I have it the way I want it, I click Print. Now I've successfully created and printed a manual invoice. How you change a default invoice that's going to be sent out to tenants. You click on the invoice screen under Operations. Click on Setup at the top of the screen. We have three different choices. One-page invoice, which means the invoice is standard one page. It cannot be edited. Then we have a detailed invoice that shows only charges that have not been previously invoiced, or the default, which is detailed invoice, all unpaid charges. If you choose one of the latter two options, you can edit the invoice to make it say what you want it to. The first one-page invoice cannot be edited. To edit the two default invoices, you would go to the Company Form Setup screen.